Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, former Indiana. I think the best word to describe this man would be legend. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley.
That's a little strong. I mean, legend is, I'm not sure I'm worthy. That's gone above and beyond reality now. So I would back that down just a little if I were you. I would stick to just Hall of Famer and national champion. Because that means I was part of a team that did something great, can lay my stake to that claim. You start talking legend, you start putting me in a different stratosphere that I don't belong into.
Yeah, because that's like guys like Steve Alford.
Oh, you had to say that, didn't you? I talked.
All right, hey, Indiana, 3 straight wins, 78-68 over Illinois tonight at Assembly Hall. Juwan Morgan was a bad man again with 14 points, 10 rebounds. Robert Johnson, again, played really well, Steve, and he doesn't make stupid mistakes. He's taken good shots. Is it safe to say that maybe this team, at least to some small extent, has a little bit of leadership now?
I think so. This was pretty much a nondescript game against a nondescript team who made a little run at us, and we did some things really good. There's still some things we need to get better at, but I think the takeaways from here, I think we're becoming emotionally a more stable basketball team. Players are finding their niche. Johnson is the poster child for finding your niche. I mean, for another night now, we've talked about this, I think, all through their winning streak. He's above 500 in shooting. 5 for 9 from the field and comes up with 14 points. And he's a force in there, and he's able to create and do things that he's really becoming a central figure of this team that we wanted him to be all along. But I think he's in the right spot now to really use his talents to best benefit this basketball team. The addition of McSwain and Green still continues to prove to be just a stroke of genius on Miller's part, something that I think you and I saw after about the 4th game this year. This team just is emotionally a little more stronger. I like the way they're crashing the boards. They're playing harder. More kids are getting on the floor. And this might not have been the prettiest win of the 3 that we've had in a row now, but it's a win late in the season in the Big Ten, and it can do us no harm. Losing doesn't do you any harm right now in any way you slice it up. So wins are wins. It's good. And, it's a good night for Indiana. It keeps our streak alive, keeps us in that, focus for a potential bid. We have a lot of work to do in front of us to get a bid. I understand that. But, we didn't kick ourselves out of it tonight at all. And Illinois came, with some game tonight. But we kind of withstood everything that they threw at us, which I'm not sure we would have done that. Well, obviously we didn't do it in Champaign.
Yeah.
So, all in all, good night. Good night.
Yeah, and the thing that stood out to me was Green really didn't have a great game tonight. Only 3 points. But the point is this. I don't think he had a great game either way. I don't think he had a bad game. But the thing was, you had Durham picks it up with 14 points, 5 of 6 shooting, 2 for 2 from three-point line, 2 for 2 from the free throws. But the thing that I think is more important, especially if this team wants to make a run at the tournament in Madison Square Garden during the Big Ten tournament, was Josh Newkirk. He played 21 minutes, and they were probably the most 21 productive minutes he's played this year. 4 for 6 shooting the ball, played within himself, didn't look like he was forcing it. And I think there's a chance here that maybe the way this team's starting to play is starting to bleed over a little bit. Maybe that pressure that Newkirk and Johnson felt earlier in the year, maybe they don't feel it now because you got guys like McRoberts, McSwain, Durham starting to do their part, and they don't feel like they have to do everything.
It's spot on, Mike, spot on. I think everybody's sliding into their roles. I think we finally, clearly are playing enough players and coaches letting guys slide into their roles. Everybody's starting to adapt to their roles. And now you look at a Durham, somebody can come in off the bench, give you 21, 22 solid, productive scoring minutes, defensive minutes. And, he gets comfortable with that and he gets accustomed to doing that every game, then he's a benefit to us on the court, unlike what we thought both him and Johnson were in the roles they were playing earlier in the season. So great observation on your part. I would have said the exact same thing had I had a chance to comment on that. But I think that everybody is sliding into their roles. They're mostly getting stronger. I will disagree with you a little bit on Green's contribution to the game, and I'll tell you exactly where I'm going to come from. I marked the time. It was about 12:14 to go in the game. And Johnson makes a hell of a backdoor cut. And Green is at the top of the key. And out of nowhere, he fires an Isaiah Thomas-like pass through about 6 people right down the center of the lane. The play doesn't get completed, but it's a play with confidence, made with confidence that I have not seen an Indiana basketball player make with the amount of confidence he had, making that pass, throwing it right off the cuff, just seeing it, recognizing it, and executing it. And again, they didn't complete the play, but it's a play that would have never happened in this team 6 games ago. And so for that, just that one play alone, I say he's contributing. He's constantly trying things. He's trying positive things, trying to make things go, and he's not doing it recklessly at all. It was not a reckless play. It just was a play that just did not get completed, but it was a great play. And I marked that. I looked at the clock and said, what time? Because I'm going to mention that play when we talk on the radio. To me, that's a defining moment in this basketball game in terms of what this team can do now that it couldn't do 5 games ago.
Yeah, and I think that right now you've got a solid 9-man rotation. I mean, Smith also played tonight. We didn't bring him up. 13 points, 5 of 7 shooting, 3 rebounds. So really, out of the 9, the only one that really didn't play much was Colin Hartman, who only played 6 minutes. So right now, you've got 8 solid guys on that bench, and then you've got Hartman, who you never know might be able to come off, hit a few shots if the team's a little down. But, I mean, right now you've got a solid 8-man rotation to go into the finish of the season. And I think what you've got coming up against Nebraska is a game that's going to really tell us how far this team's really come.
I agree. All roads are pointing toward Nebraska now because, you know, they're ranked in that upper echelon with Ohio State, Michigan State, and Purdue, and they got Nebraska in that top 4 group. They're going to probably get the buys if things hold the way they do. So, you know, you said this in our pre-discussions here. Indiana still does not really have what we call a signature win. They certainly don't have one in the Big Ten. They need to get a signature win and I agree with you, and this is your observation. I want to give you credit for it, but they need to have a signature win to get the Big Ten or get the NCAA to really take a good hard look at them for a bit. I think they're worthy. I think they're playing good enough to be in, but it doesn't mean they'll get in because the best 64 teams rarely get to play in the dance. You know that as well as I do. But so they need that Nebraska win.
I think the bigger problem is this. I think they have to have 2 signature wins. I think they have to go to Nebraska and win, which gives you a signature road win. And I think you got to take care of Ohio State, and then you've got to make a run. Mm-hmm. Because right now, beating Indiana or even beating Ohio State and Nebraska, that'll just get them in the conversation. It's not going to get them in the tournament.
I think if they win at Nebraska and win Ohio State, and they don't puke on themselves in New York, I think they'll have to get serious consideration for a low-level bid into the dance, and then we'll go from there. You know, but you're right. All those things have to happen. They can't falter on any of them right now. And in the meantime, you know, we can't look past Iowa. You know, I watched Iowa play Michigan a little bit tonight, and while Michigan won handily, Iowa is not a team that's going to lay down and die. You know, they want to play. They want to make some of their season too. Everybody's down to trying to achieve something out of the season, either a bid or to finish strong and try and get some recruiting in and get players for next year. So everybody has a different mission now than they did 5-6 games ago or when the Big Ten started. So, but you're right. Indiana's not, you know, they have a long road to go, but I still think it's a path that they control their own destiny on. Once again, I think if they beat Nebraska, beat Ohio State, and get to the semifinals or, you know, of the Big Ten tournament, I think they'll be fine. I think you'll have to give them some consideration, especially given the light of what the NCAA did in Notre Dame today with the self-policing rule. And NCAA needs all the PR they can get right now, especially in the state of Indiana. So
yeah, but that was Notre Dame football, right?
You're right, it is. I know.
Okay, and it's Brian Kelly. So the thing is this: Brian Kelly shouldn't even be a college football coach.
Okay, well, let's. I'm not going to debate that one with you at all, because you're probably right.
He is directly responsible for the death of a student. So, I mean, the thing is, everybody forgets about that, but he stuck that kid up there in 70-mile-an-hour winds. I won't forget it, and I don't know why he gets a pass on it, but that has nothing to do with Indiana basketball. And
back to that.
Go on from there.
But I think, statistically, I think that the takeaway statistically, and again, I'm not a big fan of statistics, 59% from the 2-point range, 42%, and lo and behold, 69% from the free throw line, damn near 70%. What we would consider a norm for a good basketball team. We're excited about that, but to me, it just shows progress. It shows emotional maturity. It shows everybody being more confident while they're playing the game and making mistakes. We had 18 turnovers, which Illinois only had 12. That's way too many turnovers for a team to do much in a tournament with. 18 is just way too many. But again, I think that the bulk of those were turnovers trying to execute plays rather than turnovers dribbling it off your foot. And those hurt you as bad. A turnover is a turnover. But if I'm going to watch 18 turnovers, I want to watch the bulk of them being trying to execute a play. And I think the bulk of those are coming that direction. So rebound-wise, we own the boards again. I really like how we're owning the boards. McSwain is a beast at crashing the boards, and we still keep getting that same consistently great effort out of Morgan. And, once again, McRoberts doesn't score, but that's not his role. 4 personal fouls tells me the kid's playing defense hard. He comes in there, he's knocking the ball around. He's just all over the place, wreaking havoc on everybody else, helping out as good as anybody on the team. Durham came in and made great contributions. Newkirk did. Smith came in. I saw Smith come in and make some great plays. So everybody is making equal contributions to the success of this team, and that's why it is a team. It's Indiana basketball team, not Indiana basketball individuals playing in the same uniform. Team's playing like a team finally. And, we wish we had 10 more games. Because I think if we had 10 more games rather than, 3, we'd be in good shape. But, it is what it is. We made our own bed.
Well, it needs to carry over to Nebraska, because I think Nebraska is the be-all, end-all to have a chance. Because the other thing about Nebraska is this. The record looks a lot better than Indiana's, but they've probably got less quality wins than Indiana. They did have a win at home by 20 against Michigan, but if you look at their schedule, the teams they've played, I mean, there's nothing that stands out there either. I mean, they've played an easier schedule, because I think Nebraska's got a big 3. I think Indiana's going to go to Nebraska, and I think they're going to kick Nebraska's butt.
I said this 3 games ago. I didn't think, but then you enlightened me as to what Nebraska's really accomplished. But, I think that if they get by Iowa, and again, we got to go to Iowa City. And I tell you, I played there. It's not an easy place to play. They don't have a lot of love for Indiana and Iowa, from years gone by and past. And it's going to be a rough place for Indiana. Plus, Indiana's riding a 3-game winning streak. But we got to get by Iowa. So let's get by that game. But then I think if we get by Iowa, I think we'll be ready to play Nebraska. And I think we'll understand, the coach will make sure the players understand the relative importance of winning that ball game. That basically, if they beat Iowa, Nebraska is their season. If they don't beat Nebraska, they're done.
Yeah.
If they beat Nebraska, it continues their opportunity to move forward and play again. It doesn't give them an opportunity. It doesn't give them the ability to move forward. It continues their opportunity to earn a chance to move forward. They've got to win at Nebraska. But if they keep playing like they're playing now, with a little bit more poise, a lot more effort, everybody accepting their defined roles now, I think they're going to. I think they can do it. I mean, I just really feel good about the rest of the season. It's as good as we could hope for. We don't have to face Michigan State, Purdue, or Ohio State. Well, we do Ohio State, but again, but it's as good as I think we could hope for. Just got to make it happen.
It comes down to this. If they play as well as they can, they win out, they go 18-12, no matter what happens in Madison Square Garden, this season has been a huge success. Because if you look at what this team looked like against Indiana State, and see, I remember us talking about this. The big thing to me is this. If you want to see a good coach, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is, you watch that team play the first game, you show up and watch their last game, and you'll see if that team is well coached or not. And I think right now, no matter what happens these last 3 games, I think there's no doubt that you're going to see the effort. They may not execute. They may lose by 20 at Nebraska. But I think overall, if you look at this team now compared to the first game of the year, it's worlds apart.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt at all. And you got to credit a lot of that to Archie Miller. I credit a lot of that to making the lineup changes. Now, whether Archie was forced to do that because of the incredibly bad play of the 5 he had on the court, or because he saw the light and saw these changes were going to benefit the team, whatever the reason, the lineup changes have been the turnaround for this basketball team. And Johnson is probably the biggest benefactor of that lineup change. He really is. I think you see just more out of him than what we expected that he was giving us in the first half of the season, when he was saddled with a lot more responsibility than he either wanted to take on or he was capable of taking on. And Devontae certainly has pulled a lot of that away from him. So, it is a mark of a good coach. This team is winning games that it wouldn't lose. And I don't want to diminish anything else, because the stats are important. Emotion's important. But right now, what's really the most important thing for this team is just winning ball games. I mean, we don't have that luxury of letting one – we don't have a throwaway game. Some teams – Purdue has a throwaway game. Michigan State's got a throwaway game. Nebraska maybe. Nebraska may have a throwaway game.
I don't think Nebraska does. I think Nebraska's still walking a thin line just because of the schedule they've played. I mean, this is the Big Ten. And what I think this comes down to is you're probably going to get somewhere between 4 and 6 teams in. And in that mix, you've got Indiana, you got Nebraska, you got maybe Penn State the way they've played lately. And Indiana's got to be ahead of those teams. And the only way – well, I think Michigan's probably in. I mean, Michigan's 21-7. They have – I mean, they beat Michigan State.
You think there's 4 teams in? Yeah, you think there's 4 teams in right now. You think it's Ohio State, Michigan State, Michigan, and Purdue are locked. They're in.
Yeah, I think they're locked. I think if the tournament started today, I think Nebraska would be in. But it's also according to how many upsets you get in conference tournaments, too, because let's face it, the Big Ten is not a very good conference. It's not what it's been in the past.
It's not deep, right.
Yeah, right. I mean, the top of it, it's kind of like, the top of it is loaded. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan
we got 4
State,
teams in the top
Purdue.
22.
Yeah, but those 3 teams right there, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see any of those 4 in the Sweet 16. And I think that Michigan State would have a shot at the Final Four. I don't think Purdue does. I don't think Ohio State does. But they're dangerous teams.
Yeah, I think Purdue does on paper. The problem is you don't play the game on paper.
Yeah, the last time Purdue successfully made it to the Final Four was in 1980.
Right, yeah. That was, the year before 81? And who won in 81?
Steve, I'll tell you what. That Indiana degree's done you some good.
I guess to say one thing, I'll sidetrack. We really have more success under our belt than the IU 76 team. Those guys never won the NIT. All right?
Yeah, because they didn't have to play
Those guys never got an NIT championship. They got the CCA, the Collegiate Commissioners Association tournament. They've got that under their belt. We have the NIT. When the NIT was a legitimate tournament.
Yeah, but they didn't have to play in the NIT.
Okay. Touche, well played.
Plus, they were undefeated. You lost to Pan American University, Steve.
I thought that too. But we beat every team that the undefeated team beat, too. We just didn't do it all in 1 year.
Yeah. But, I mean, you lost to Pan American.
The teams I played on in my 4 years, we beat every single team that the undefeated team did. They just did it in 1 year. That's all.
You guys didn't beat Alabama.
All right. We beat UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Didn't beat Alabama.
We beat Alabama Birmingham.
But you didn't beat Alabama. That's not the same thing.
No, we did.
And that Alabama team that they beat in '76 was pretty good. The team you guys beat was better than next year because they came back and beat Indiana, I think, in the second round in '82.
Yeah.
But that's just because you and Isaiah weren't there.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the two key factors too, right there.
Yeah, I figured I'd throw that in. Since we started the show calling you a legend, now we're going to put you in the same sentence with Isaiah.
I tell you what, you need to take a vacation from college basketball.
It's Valentine's Day. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be positive.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We ate Mexican tonight. Ooh-ah.
We didn't do anything. We just watched TV. We've never celebrated Valentine's Day. It's just one of the, as we like to say, it's one of the man's holidays. It doesn't mean anything.
It's a great opportunity to go spend money on something you do not need to spend money on. That's all it is.
Yeah, we do. We've never. I've been married for a quarter of a century, and we've never done anything for Valentine's Day. Every day is Valentine's Day.
I think we're losing listeners real quickly right now.
I don't think so. I think 3 more just picked up.
In the end, statistically, things are looking really good, better than they have all year. I'm not a big fan of statistics. I don't put a lot of weight on statistics. We just don't. They're important. I get the relevance, importance of them, and they kind of will answer some questions as to why things happen, but they don't define how things happen. I do think the emotional level of what this team's playing right now and the maturity level they're showing on the court are the reason that they are winning games that they weren't winning earlier in the year. In a way, they just look like a more complete basketball team than they did 5 games ago. I think that's the relevant key. I think that Miller's settling in as a coach. I think he's made his transition. And what we haven't talked about yet, again, regardless of whether we get in a dance or not, this win streak right now, if we can, close it out strong, is going to help us recruiting-wise. And we still need help recruiting.
Yeah.
We still have the golden egg out there who has not committed in Romeo Langford. I mean, he's not committed. Every win is going to make him do nothing but feel better about Indiana. Watching us play, watching the fan base grow for Indiana. And as we seem to think he might be doing at Vanderbilt, maybe he'll start, drawing other players to Indiana with him who want to play and want to see if they can build their own flag to hang up there as well. So on top of everything else, the cherry on this thing is that we play well this time of year. It's going to do nothing but help, our recruiting efforts in the offseason and in this time right now. We get players to commit and be able to get the kind of quality players that Coach Miller needs to build the team the way he wants it to run it next year. So it's a good time for Indiana. It's a good win. Wasn't the prettiest win. It wasn't an ugly win. It just was a boring, nondescript win. Illinois was not bringing a top-level game. Indiana did just simply play the best they played in the last 3 games. But I never felt they were in jeopardy of losing the ball game, even when it got down to 2 points in the second half. I never felt like, oh, my God, we're in trouble now. I just thought and this team stayed even keel. They did what they needed to do, and they pulled out a 10-point win, partly on the free throw line, believe it or not, we can say that. They made some free throws down toward the end. And I like the aggressive play offensively and defensively. We do still need to work on the guard to get 3-point shots, giving those up too easily. And I still think we're trying to play too much one-on-one defense. Those are areas that can be improved upon. They will be improved upon. The big thing here is for this team to keep winning. Close it out for us.
All right, Steve. If you want to follow Steve, you have any questions, you can go to @GruelingHoops. You can also go to @GruelingTruth. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.